Good evening, everyone. So, this is going to be part three of the event. And if you haven't watched part one and two, I highly recommend it just because you'll be brought up to speed on where we're at in terms of the event with people who are on this channel. So, before I didn't know I'd be doing a video tonight, but the nine showed me that my first video on the event it wasn't supposed to be about the event, but it became about that. What it was a message that I channeled from Jesus, and the message was, you're exactly where you need to be in this now moment. You're exactly where you need to be, otherwise you would be elsewhere. So then they actually started connecting the dots for me that the event is in actuality the Christ consciousness making a comeback. So that can be perceived as a comeback from one point of view. Another point of view would be that it's not making a comeback, it's always been here. And now that the heart center is opening up at a collective level, the heart center is like a portal. And the more that we open up this portal, the more that it can get filled with this higher consciousness light, which is the crystalline Christ light that is making its return when in essence it was here already. It's just that we were so separated from that one energy, that oneness energy, that source consciousness, that creator energy, that we are going to perceive it as a comeback when really it's not a comeback. It's always been here. Now, the nine also emphasized that the event has been here. A lot of us have already experienced it. I experienced it in 2011, and I even remember when I had my Kundalini awakening, and I'm going to thread this all together in a minute, but when I had my Kundalini awakening in 2011, I was told telepathically that I was a prototype. So I was beta testing the Kundalini, which most people perceive the Kundalini as a primal life force, a serpent energy that rises and starts to spiral up your DNA to activate your DNA, which is completely true because it really does move like a serpent. And I've had it 7 years and it still moves in my body nonstop. So it's a very active energy. But when I awakened and I wasn't aware of all this information, what I got was that the Kundalini was a program that was being initiated by other galactic realms or other beings who are guiding us, which those beings can be equated with our future selves. So in a way, you could say that there are future selves, and we're an aspect of them that is in the past to kind of reroute the planet on a higher trajectory. So one of the visions I got was that, like, the quotient, meaning that there's a light quotient and a dark quotient. And if the ratio is like higher in darkness, then star seeds are needed to incarnate on this planet to help reroute the planet on a higher trajectory. And the vision I'm getting now is like, if you tickle someone and they're laughing and they're asking you to stop, but you keep doing it, like you're taking it too far, so it turns into a violation of their free will. Well, that's pretty much what happened on this planet. There was an infringement on our free will. And so star-seeded ones, who are the Pleiadians, the Arcturians and all of that, we came back to help reroute the planet. And we came with a starseed code so that we could increase the light quotient because the dark quotient was too high. And so the planet, it wasn't looking too promising. Like, the planet was probably going to eventually, end up in a complete mess or hitting a brick wall, if you will. And so the reason why we came here is to bring that oneness energy and file it down upon this reality. And so a lot of you who are tuning into this at this time right now are starseed. And if you're a starseed, you have traveled back into the memory, if you will. You've traveled back into the memory of God or Source to rewrite that story. No different than if you were... Okay, so this is coming to me now. So if you were like... If you experienced something pretty traumatic at the age of 20 years old, where you don't see that story like you did when it happened to you at 20 years old. That's because you were operating from a different frame of consciousness at the time. So now, because you've matured spiritually and you're able to take the overview, you can understand why that story needed to happen, or what part you had to play in it or not play in it. So I can go many directions with this, but you perceive it differently. So because you perceive it differently, it rewrites the story. All right, it's kind of like when you awaken and you start becoming honest again, and then you can see how you were dishonest before you were awakened. So that old story can simply not apply to this now moment. So the star seeds are here to rewrite a story that would have ended up really badly. Okay, it's like the dark force, they tickled us too much, and it wasn't funny anymore. And so we were sent on this mission because planet Earth placed a call saying, hey, we need you now to help raise the light quotient on the planet. So that's the Starseed mission in short, in a nutshell. Now, in terms of the event, the 9 are emphasizing that a lot of people are too hung up on it being a physical flash. Now, that's not to say a physical flash may not happen. You know, there's been talk about that happening in March or February or whenever. That changes momentarily because the future potentials are always fluctuating. Now, I do believe that everything that we do within ourselves eventually has to show up in physical form. You know, that's just how it is. It's like if you work on your abundance through the law of attraction or through whatever modality you use to invite that frequency of abundance into your field, well, eventually that's actually going to materialize in your physical reality. So I'm of the belief that whenever you do things in here, they start to show up in your external world. So is it likely that something will take place in this physical world as we know it? Yes, it's very likely. But all right, this is going to be a very deep video, so get ready because I'm getting tons of downloads right now. So a lot of people are too obsessed about the specifics. They get too fixated on when is it going to happen. And to them, it's like a cliffhanger. But being fixated on this flash is being externally focused. The event is an occurrence that happens within you. And the other message I'm getting is that the event is a Kundalini awakening that's going to be happening at a collective level. And it's already happening every day. I've already remote viewed into this. It started around 2011, 2012, because we needed the Kundalini to really rise within Mother Gaia, within the planetary body, to help her ascend, to help humanity ascend and awaken again, so that those curtains can be dropped or those veils can be lifted. So the event, in essence, is a flash that is experienced within you. It's like an instantaneous template wipe, a template rewrite, which is what happened to me as well in 2011. I was no longer the same person from one instant to the next. Really, it's how it happened. Now, did my body still carry some of that karmic baggage? Of course it did, but I was operating with a new consciousness, and I could correct my energy, from moment to moment in my everyday life. So I was cleaning up the mess in my old body, but I wasn't at that state of consciousness anymore, if that makes sense. So the event is being experienced more and more and more. Now, if you're always focused on this flash that's going to completely swipe like a credit card your consciousness and bring it back to a 0 point, or it's going to give you that instant that instant awakening, then that's what the 9 are saying is that's not the right focus because it's externally driven. So once you experience the internal flash, then you start seeing flashes everywhere. Like I always see these purple beams of light everywhere I go. They're everywhere. It's almost like a thread that connects everything. I also see like white pixels around trees, or I'm able to like completely zone in on my third eye, and then my physical vision goes blurry, and I can see how everything is super bright, and I can hear the sound of the wind and the rhythm of everything, and the birds are speaking to me. That to me is the event, is moving into multidimensionality. The event, the reason why a lot of people are talking about it now is because it's almost like we started, like our foot is on the pedal now, and there's a collective upshifting of energy that's taking place at an exponential rate. Okay? So this is happening. You guys are noticing it. There are many people awakening in greater and greater proportion. I see it. I see it so clearly comparatively to what it looked like in 2011, 2012. You know, I'm seeing that there's a massive, massive change taking place within the collective consciousness. But, and this is where it gets a little deep, because this is what the Nine showed me right before I decided to do the video. When people ask questions like, when is it set to happen? And they're constantly talking about this external thing, that energy, which is linear in nature, that's a linear question. Whenever you ask questions about time, that's a linear question. So the event is actually gonna, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it is kind of. The event is going to delete. It's here to wipe away that construct of time that makes us ask those questions. So when we ask questions like, when is it going to happen? Those are the very questions that are going to be wiped out through the event. Because we are going to quantum leap into multidimensional thinking, where time doesn't exist. It does, but it doesn't, right? We move out of the linear time-space reality. We move out of this singular perspective of, I need to know when my person is going to enter my life, or I need to know when my career is going to take off. The event is here to sweep out, or I should say it's going to clear this way of thinking of, when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? How, when, where is it going to happen? That's what the event is here to do, is the Christ consciousness that is now going to act as a glue to bring all the different aspects that were all on these different timelines. It's going to glue them back together into this beautiful oneness frequency. So it's crystalline energy. So what this is going to do is going to facilitate an expansiveness in your mind, in your ability to think in a quantum fashion. It's going to facilitate it, meaning that you may not have to struggle like we did. Like, I consider my awakening to have been violent. I'm not kidding you guys. It was violent because we were charting new territory, So I saw this meme yesterday on Instagram where it was like this wolf who's, paving a path on the snow, like, right? And it's like, he's like struggling to get through the snow and to go across into the forest. And then the wolves behind him have an easier time because that pathway's already been forged. So, but what's interesting is that all of this happens at the same time. It's all simultaneous. So even though people who were doing the work in 2011, 2012 are ahead Yes, they might be the forerunners who have more of the tools of ascension. However, um, those experiencing the Kundalini now are not behind because it all happens at the same time. You know, your birth happens at the same time as your death. It's just that you perceive your death as something that's going to happen in your future because you're still operating within the construct of time. That's all. But the second that your birth happened, your death happened at the same time. So they happen at the same time. There is no linearity in all of this. We experience it as a sequence because that's the whole point of our existence, is to experience the sequence of things. It's a series of events. But the event already happened. Okay? Your death has already happened from the nine's perspective. It's already happened. But you don't see it that way because you're still operating under time. And when we start to move beyond the veil into the space of no time, then we understand that everything that is happening has already happened and will happen. It's all the same thing. Like I can say to you that the planetary body of Gaia has already become a spaceship or a space planet where that can teleport in and out. It already has. I can also say that aliens are already here, like the extraterrestrials, like Pleiadians, Arcturians, they're already here. Okay, so that's already happened. So sometimes we wait for disclosure when the extraterrestrials are all around us. It's just that a lot of us have these physical meat suits. But the star seeds are off-planet planetary beings who have come here from a future version of this planet to help assist the planet at this time. So you could say that like a planet like the Pleiades is Earth's higher self. But then you could take a different perspective and say that the planet Earth is a younger planet and the Pleiades is a more advanced civilization and it's guiding this younger planet so that it can become its own evolved planetary body, ascended body. So the planet Earth is experiencing a Kundalini awakening right now. So what I was shown is that the light quotient is raising. That's what the event is. So say that you had a 60% or 65% dark planet before, like it was the prison planet, where most of us we just followed the instructions that were given to us because we trusted, we were too innocent and we were gullible and we just trusted. And then we realized, oh my God, when we awakened, we realized, oh my God, it was a lie. We were hoodwinked, we were brainwashed, we were mind controlled. And we start to take our power back. Well, that light quotient starts to raise, and now you're looking at like more of a 50-50 ratio, light dark. Well, the event means that if 144,000 warriors hold that frequency, which is just a metaphor right now because it's not that specific number, but if you have, I'm just going to use this as an example. So consider that you have 144,000 warriors or rainbow warriors or indigo warriors, crystal children, whatever, who are awakened starseeds. And you compare that to the billions of people who are asleep and might have a higher dark quotient, meaning they're just more unconscious. Well, the light that those starseeds hold is truly, truly contagious. So it starts to spread like wildfire. And by default, it augments the light quotient of the entire planet. So I don't know if anyone shared the event this way, but I saw it as us tipping over into a higher light quotient within the planet, which would mean that our mission was indeed successful. And from there, it's like a point of no return. We're just on a evolutionary trajectory going towards the galactic core. So what the nine are showing me is that the questions that are like, when is this going to happen? I just want to know. I just need to know. I can't wait. we have to understand that the event is an internal thing. It's an internal thing. If you're not meditating, for instance, like if I don't meditate, and I'm just going to speak for myself, because I don't want to speak for you. If I'm not meditating and my energy is flat, well, I don't hear my guidance as much. You know? When I meditate and I raise my vibrations, well, it's really easy to receive intel from the nine. Or it's also easy to become the nine, depending on which one I want to become. So, if we're not meditating, there can be these super potent energies coming in from the center of the Milky Way galaxy or from the sun. And if you're feeling flat, you're not going to know what's going on. You're not even going to feel it. It's going to go over your head. The event is kind of like that. So we have to kind of meet the event halfway, if that makes sense. We have to work on looking at ourselves, holding ourselves responsible for what we attract or what we think or what we feel. If it's negative, we have to flip that. We have to transmute it. We have to turn the lead into gold. We are alchemists. We are divine alchemists. And that's our job. You know, I got this amazing spontaneous download yesterday where I was like, why is it that we can sit on a flight and learn how to settle our energy and really like settle down, but in our life, the second we deal with a problem, we have to call a friend? Why is it that we do that? You know, we become very mature when we're on a flight. We can be dealing with something that's problematic in our lives or some sort of trepidation, but we manage we don't have access to our phone. We just sit there on that flight and we somehow inherently, instinctively know how to calm ourselves down. And so it would be very, very beneficial if all of us could start processing our own emotions. So if you have a thought of when is the event going to happen, your arrow's pointing outwardly. So you need to flip and invert that arrow, bring it back in. Imagine that you're on a flight and settle that energy. That allows for the event to happen, to become more imminent. Do you understand? But a lot of people get caught up in the hype of it. And that's what the nine were showing me. There's too many people who are tied up in the hype of it. One person makes a video about the event and that person's like, ooh, I'm going to ride their coattail and make another one, make another one, make another one, make another one. And it becomes like this composite consciousness of the event when really, yes, it's true. The reason people are doing videos about the event is because there's a resonance there. Just like there's a resonance when you hear the words twin flames. That's not coincidental, right? The cause and effect have to happen at the same time. The birth and the death have to happen at the same time. The solution is created at the same time as the problem. So you could say that the first person who did a video on the event was tuning into something and other people caught onto it and were like, yep, I'm going to capture that because it's true. So it resonates, right? It resounds as truth within their cellular makeup. So yes, that's true, but we don't want to get so caught up in it that we bring in the dates and the this and the... It's never about a date. A lot of us have already experienced the event, and that's what I'm saying here. Will we see a flash? It's likely that we will see a flash, but one of the main things we're here to learn on this planet is how to, because our external senses have been so reinforced and they've been so strengthened that we fall asleep all the time. We go, oh, when is this thing going to rescue me? And when is that person going to call me? And when is my lover going to call me back? And we truly get caught up in the external world because our external senses have been so fed with energy from the external world that, of course, that's going to happen. But if you start to tune in, you tune your brain waves into your inner being, and you turn your focus inwardly, then you will see that the event was always there. You will see that Christ was always there. The crystalline matrix was always there. We are organic humans. But what happened was we were We were dumbed down, you guys. Our DNA was degraded. And now we're making our return back to ourselves. We're coming back to the higher self, which is the oneness field, the oneness frequency, the self that we all share, that we're all a part of, the self that isn't fractalized. And the Christ consciousness is here to bring all of that back, to bring all those fragments back home. So whenever we say things like, it's going to happen at this date, yes, you're speculating, or you might be predicting, which is good. We have to encompass all of these different viewpoints. But the most important thing that was shown to me was the event is here to swipe these ideas that we have about time, of the when is it going to happen, or where, or how. That's what it's going to do. It's going to upgrade our systems and lift us into the space of no time, where we don't ask questions like that anymore. So at first, it's going to manifest as a lot of changes taking place within the physical world, where people are talking about spirituality, they're talking about consciousness, they awaken to the fact that the money institutions aren't working, that the religious structures were completely corrupted, all of this. That's how it's going to be a sequential, like an incremental process. So there's going to be a lot of dismantlement taking place within the false structures, the control structures, the structures of domination. But the ultimate thing, like the overview, right? So I could be speaking from 2,000 years ahead right now, quote, 2,000, unquote, or whatever. But from the overview, we would say that the event is going to really initiate this acceleration in our consciousness, where we get out of this linear thinking and we start to move ourselves into multidimensionality. This is not an overnight thing, all right? It is not an overnight thing. Even when we awaken, we have to go through different stages. So multidimensionality does not happen overnight, you guys. But it's who we are. It's who we are. That is our divine birthright, to reconnect into source as source. It's our divine birthright. And the event is going to enable us to assume those higher viewpoints or those multidimensional perspectives much quicker than it would have in 2012 or 2011. But one thing to keep in mind, the event's been working. It's always been effective. It's always been happening, right? Okay, so I'll give you an example. If I say to you, I'm picking you up in 20 minutes, and we're going to go to the movies and have a great time, your energy is already adjusting itself while you're getting ready to the frequency of what's about to happen. Sorry. Your energy, okay, so if you go on a date with someone and you're nervous because they're about to show up in 15 minutes, right? And you're nervous, what do you think's happening in that moment? That person's already arrived, their energy is already here, and your frequency is actually acclimating to the energy of the situation. So the event, which is the wave, which is the flood, the tidal wave of transformation, of ascension, so we're going to imagine that the event is this person that's coming to meet you. The event is approaching, but you're already changing, right? Your DNA and your energetics are already adjusting themselves in response to what's coming, even though you can't see it physically. So the people who experienced Kundalini awakenings in 2011, 2012, or even before that, There were waves before me, waves before them, but right? But it happens in at an increasing rate because that's how the universe works. It's like the 100th month monkey effect, where the monkeys ate sweet potatoes, or they learn how to clean their potatoes, and when 100 monkeys realize that they should clean their potatoes by just putting them in the water, then another island, I haven't read too much on this, I got it though, another island of monkeys, like it clicked for them as well. It clicked for them because it clicked for the first 100 monkeys. So the first 100 monkeys threaded out that energy, and it was received within the telepathic network of the other monkeys. But which happened first? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I mean we have to get out of linearity, because it's always happening at the same time. It's just experienced differently for different people. So if someone's coming to meet you on a date, well, your energy is already changing. So if let's say you were a singer and your dream is to become famous, and you might be feeling anxious for no apparent reason, you don't understand that your video is going to go viral in 3 months from now. So you're just going to think, I'm anxious right now. I don't understand why I'm anxious. No, the energy of what's about to occur is already working with your field to prepare you for that. You have no idea you're about to become a famous singer. You have no idea that this video's already gone viral from the higher dimensional landscape, right? But it's already happened. Your linear mind doesn't know that, but your subconscious mind is picking up on that event, and your energy is going to start to adapt to what's to come. So you could say that there's like a phone a new number that's being dialed in you, so that you can reach a new person, so that you can reach a new frequency. The event works the same way. It's a tidal wave that's been approaching for thousands, probably millions of years. And it's hitting me now that the starseeds, in a way, like the event is the wave that was sent from Pleiades, from Arcturus, and from all these different star systems to assist Gaia with her ascension. I don't think because I don't watch a lot of videos on the event. I watch other like galactic like stuff, but I don't know much about what people have shared in relationship to the event. What I can say to you though is that the event is going to swipe like a credit card and bring it back to zero. It's going to swipe all of our languaging around time. When is this? When is that going to happen? So if you experience a Kundalini awakening and you still have a lot of those energies within you that are dense, that ask questions like that are still rooted in a dualistic fabric of reality, in a linear fabric of reality, the Kundalini is going to be a lot more painful. Okay? But if you start working on shifting your energy and clearing that dualistic format of reality within you, and instead recognizing that time, okay, time is an illusion from many viewpoints. It's real in that you have to pick up your kids from school when they finish school, and it's real from the third dimensional viewpoint that there is a future. Like you that's watching this video hasn't watched the video that I'm going to put out in a week from now. But a week from now is really just an alternate version of the now. So the video I'm going to do in a week has already been done in a way. And when you watch it, it will just be a parallel reality of the now. So my point is that if we can start working on not looking for something outside of us to swoop in and save us, for this flash to like miraculously change you. Now it does miraculously change you. That's what's interesting. It does. But let's not obsess over a date. Let's not obsess over when it's going to take place. Take all of that desire that you have to want to know and bring it in. Pressurize your body. Pressurize your chakras. Bring it in. Because that's what I did when I had my Kundalini awakening. The night that I decided to point my arrow inside and take all of my anger and wanting change in my life and just begging for an answer, the Kundalini woke up. It was a volcanic eruption that took place within me in less than 5 minutes, and I didn't even know what the Kundalini was. But it took me taking my focus and bringing it inside and almost like imploding. So anytime you want to go to that place in your mind of what's going to happen and when and how is it going to happen, take that fire and direct it inwardly. Take that fire, direct it inwardly. Okay? That's what we have to do. And for everyone who's putting out videos on the event, I honor you, and I'm so happy that you guys are doing that, because there is truth in all of the external stuff, you guys. So I don't want to negate that at all. There's truth in that, because I do believe, like I said before, that anything that we construct within us has to then be experienced outside of us. I believe that wholeheartedly. I've experienced it with my own life. You know, you have an awakening, then all of a sudden the trees look different, or all of a sudden people around you treat you differently. Or you come into great money because you now have cracked the code of abundance. So all of that is very true. But Christ consciousness is here to move us out of dualistic thinking and to help us transition into non-linear mindsets, non-linear mentalities, into higher vibrational realities. And that's what Christ consciousness is here to do. And you're already experiencing the changes within you. It's amazing. It's amazing what we're experiencing within us. We catch ourselves so quickly now. When we make a mistake, we own up to it. We apologize. We can recognize when we're separating off from that oneness field. You know, you can tell now. Like, you can shift it so quickly and edit yourself in real time. You know, like, you may want to get mad at someone, but then within 2 seconds you already know you're not in your heart anymore. You're in your mind. And the mind is the old system. It's where all those entities attached onto to keep us dumbed down. So now we're finding great ease in moving back into the heart. They're operating systems. You have the mind and all that represents, which we were mind controlled. There were tons of parasites that attached onto us. And then you have the heart. And when you're operating from the heart, you can actually reconfigure the mind to work in your highest good. So the mind is not your enemy. Remember that. But the enemy did use that. The dark magicians, the dark wizards used frequencies. They used all of that mind control stuff, watching commercials, blah, blah, blah. And you don't even know that you're taking in all these different frequencies that dumb you down. Christ consciousness is the unified field. Christ consciousness is the crystalline grid that's now accessible to us, which was always accessible, but everything has a time. Everything has its time. So I hope this message helps. Wow, I cannot believe I talked for 39 minutes. I had no clue I would do this video. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you sharing it, subscribing, and you can subscribe by hitting the bell down there. That really means a lot to me. And we will leave you with this. And we are the White Wing Collective Consciousness of Nine. And we will see you in an alternate version of the now. Much love.